I used to think I had all the time in the world. Every morning I'd lie in bed staring at the ceiling, letting the hours tick away while scrolling through my phone. My grades were slipping, my parents were constantly disappointed, and my teachers had long stopped expecting much from me. But strangely, none of that really got to me. Not at first. I convinced myself that I just needed more time, or maybe that I just wasn't meant to do well. I mean, what was the point of trying when I'd probably just fail anyway? It was easier to hide behind video games, pretending to be someone brave, someone strong. Online, no one could see how messy my room was, how I couldn't remember the last time I set a goal or finished anything. My days were a loop. Late nights, skipped assignments, and a growing sense that I was drifting, unnoticed, through life. There were moments, quiet ones, when guilt would creep in, like when I'd see my mom fold my laundry with tired hands, or when my dad's voice softened from frustration to something worse, disappointment. I hated that feeling, but I didn't know how to climb out of it. Trying felt impossible. I was scared of failing, of proving what I already believed deep down, that maybe I wasn't good enough. I started avoiding mirrors, not because of how I looked, but because they made me confront who I was becoming. There was a dullness in my eyes I didn't recognize. It wasn't just laziness. It was hopelessness dressed in apathy. One morning I was running late as usual, rushing through the empty school hallways when I noticed Mr. Ellis, the janitor. He was humming to himself while wiping down a bench. I'd seen him 100 times before, but never really seen him. There was something calming about him. How he moved, how he seemed to care about the smallest details, like making sure the corners were clean even though no one else noticed. That day, he looked up and said, "Slow down, son. Rushing won't get you anywhere faster if you're heading in circles." He smiled, then returned to cleaning like it was the most important job in the world. I didn't know it then, but that single sentence, spoken so casually, was the first pebble that cracked the wall I'd built around myself. The next time I saw Mr. Ellis, he was outside sweeping leaves into tidy little piles. I didn't mean to talk to him, but something pulled me closer. Maybe curiosity, maybe something I couldn't name yet. I asked if he ever got tired of doing the same thing every day. He paused, then looked at me with a kind of warmth I wasn't used to. Tired? Sure, but purpose doesn't come from excitement. It comes from showing up even when no one's watching. That line stayed with me. That night, while lying in bed surrounded by the usual mess, I felt something shift. I got up, not out of inspiration, but frustration. I made my bed. That's all. It wasn't perfect, but it was done. And somehow, it felt like a small rebellion against the version of myself I hated. The next day, I told Mr. Ellis. He just nodded and said, "One small thing, every day. That's how change begins." He didn't ask for more, no lectures, just that. So I tried. I made my bed again. The day after that, I added brushing my teeth first thing in the morning, something I'd gotten lazy about. I started keeping a little list on a sticky note. Bed, brush, 1 page of reading. That's it. I didn't expect anything, but something started to happen. After a week, I noticed how good it felt to check things off. I added drink water and 5 push-ups. I started setting my alarm 10 minutes earlier, not to do anything important, just to wake up without panic. I wasn't suddenly becoming a different person, but I was showing up, every day. Of course, there were setbacks. Some days I skipped everything and sank back into old habits. But Mr. Ellis would catch my eye in the hallway and give a simple thumbs up, like he knew I was still trying. That meant more than any grade or gold star ever had. I began noticing things, the way Mr. Ellis always greeted teachers and students by name, how he picked up trash others walked past. He never talked about his own struggle, but you could feel the strength in his quiet presence. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was just consistent. And slowly I realized I wanted to be like that. Not loud, not perfect, but steady, reliable. Someone who made things better just by showing up. By the time the school year neared its end, something inside me had shifted. I still wasn't a top student, and I still had days where I slipped back into old habits. But I wasn't the same boy who had once woken up past noon, drowning in self-loathing and avoidance. I was beginning to build something, quietly and slowly, a version of myself I didn't hate. I started doing my homework on time. Not all of it, not perfectly, but enough to notice the change. I got a C on a math test I would have failed 2 months ago, and I smiled at it, because that C was earned, not lucked into. For the first time, I was showing up for my own life. One afternoon, I stayed late to help Mr. Ellis clean up after a school event. We didn't talk much, but he handed me a broom and nodded. It felt natural. When we finished, he sat down on the gym steps and patted the spot next to him. "You've changed," he said, finally breaking the silence. "Not because someone told you to, because you chose to." I didn't know what to say, so I just asked him why he'd helped me in the first place. He smiled and looked down at his hands. "Because I used to be just like you, and someone once told me, start small, then don't stop." That moment undid me. I realized then that this quiet man, invisible to most, had walked the same path I was now on. He had seen the pain in me because he had carried it himself, and instead of preaching or pushing, he'd offered me what no one else had, patience and belief. Graduation came, and my parents cried, not because I was valedictorian or had some big scholarship, but because I made it, because I tried, and because they saw a different fire in me, small, steady, and real. Years later, I became a teacher, not at some fancy school, just a small public high school, like the one I once barely survived. I keep a broom in the corner of my classroom, not for use, but as a reminder that real change isn't loud. It's quiet, steady, and born from habits no one claps for. One day, I noticed a boy sitting alone, headphones on, eyes tired. I walked over, sat beside him, and said the same thing I once heard. "Slow down, son. Rushing won't get you anywhere faster if you're heading in circles. Because sometimes, to break a cycle, all it takes is one small act, and someone who believes you can begin again in a world that idolizes dramatic change and overnight success. We often forget that the most lasting transformations begin in silence, one small habit at a time. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start. Start small, stay steady, and one day you'll look back and barely recognize the person you used to be. If this story touched you or made you think about your own journey, consider sharing it. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this one, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your presence here means more than you know.